Today I'm reviewing the iBUYPOWER Y40 PRO Black Gaming PC Desktop with the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5070T 16GB, 32GB DDR5 RAM, and a 2TB NVMe SSD. If you want to check current pricing or availability, it's linked below. I've been using this system on my desk for a mix of gaming, creative work, and everyday tasks over the past few weeks. What I'm sharing comes from actual use, launching games, editing content, multitasking with apps, and daily Windows workflows. Let's set expectations clearly. This is not an ultra-compact living room PC, and it isn't positioned at the very top of enthusiast hardware. What it is meant to be is a capable gaming desktop that balances strong performance with practical usability for high refresh 1080p and solid 1440p play. Real-world gaming performance pairing the Ryzen 9 7900X with an RTX 5070T brings meaningful headroom for modern gaming. In competitive and esports titles, like Valorant, CSGO, Fortnite, high frame rates at 1080p are consistent. Most scenes stay fluid without big drops under typical play, which matters more than occasional peaks on paper. When I shifted to heavier AAA titles at 1440p, the experience stayed smooth with sensible settings. You'll tune a few graphics sliders in the most demanding games, but the RTX 5070T holds frame rates in a comfortable range without surprises. Texture load times and world streaming feel responsive thanks to the RTX's 16GB of VRAM. For strictly 4K gaming, this setup pushes reasonable settings but isn't designed as a flagship 4K powerhouse. You'll be adjusting settings to balance detail against fluidity in graphically intense titles. Thermals, noise, and build feel the case and cooling solution on this iBUYPOWER feel practical rather than premium. Under sustained gaming, fans become noticeable but not unsettling. They keep temperatures within expected bounds for both CPU and GPU. I didn't see abrupt throttling or overheating during extended sessions. Compared with smaller chassis systems, this desktop's airflow has enough space to breathe, which shows in thermal consistency. Noise is present under load. That's part of the trade-off for accessible performance in a pre-built case, but it never hits levels that interfere with focus or gameplay. The RGB and exterior styling lean toward gamer aesthetics, but nothing here feels flimsy. The build quality aligns with what I'd expect at this level, functional and serviceable. Memory and storage practicality. 32GB of DDR5 RAM at 5200 MHz gives real flexibility for multitasking. Running games while having browsers, chat apps, and productivity tools open doesn't bog the system down. For creative work like video editing, this amount of memory helps in timeline smoothness and reduces context switching overhead. The 2TB NVMe SSD is generous. Load times are quick, and you get plenty of room for a growing game library, media files, and project storage without juggling space. In everyday use, the system feels responsive, apps launch quickly, and large files don't slow down work. Limitations and trade-offs. Even with the solid hardware, this isn't the highest tier for pure 4K ultra gaming. That's a different performance class altogether. If your priority is raw maximum frames at 4K on ultra settings in every title, you'd be looking at more costly GPU tiers. The pre-built nature also means some components, like the power supply or aftermarket cooler, are chosen for balance rather than enthusiast-grade performance. That's not a flaw, it's just a reflection of the design trade-offs inherent in a ready-built system. Comparisons in context. Compared with systems with similar CPUs but weaker GPUs, this setup clearly delivers better sustained gaming performance, especially where VRAM matters. Compared with higher GPU tiers like RTX 5080 or 5090, it doesn't chase extreme frame rates at the highest resolutions, but it costs less and stays comfortably in the performance zone where most gamers spend most of their time. If you were comparing this to a self-build, you might find similar performance with part-picked components, but the convenience of a tuned out-of-box system has real value if you prefer not to assemble parts yourself. This makes sense for this configuration makes sense for someone who wants strong 1080p gaming and capable 1440p performance, likes having plenty of memory and storage without upgrades, uses the PC for gaming, creative tasks, and daily computing, prefers a plug-and-play desktop without building their own. It may not make sense if your priority is pushing every title at max detail at 4K without compromise, or if you want the smallest or quietest possible chassis. Closing thoughts. Used in typical real-world scenarios, the iBUYPOWER Y40 Pro feels reliable and capable. It doesn't promise performance outside its hardware limits, and within its class it handles modern gaming and multitasking with a composed feel. Check current pricing below and evaluate it against your needs.